Okay, so let's start. So we stopped at what is the impact of bond, and based on its maturity and based on its time to coupon. So what's the impact of time on bond? So let's discuss it. So I'll open an Excel and try to explain it to you. So there are two types of bonds that we have discussed. One is zero coupon bond, and the next one is coupon bonds. So what is the impact of time to maturity? So zero coupon bonds are always issued at discounts. Example, let's say it's a 10-year zero coupon bond that is issued at $800 with a face value of 1000. Okay, so you pay 800 and you receive 1000 after 10 years. Now the impact of time to maturity is this current price of the bond or price of the bond will rise to match face value when it matures. So what will keep on happening? You have issued, the bond was issued at $800. So if interest rates are not changing, slow and steady, the price will keep on rising day by day, month on month, etc. so that it meets $1,000 on maturity. So the price will rise from 800 to 1000. That is the discount that you have received. $200 of discount the bond was issued in. That discount will keep on shrinking until on maturity the discounts becomes zero. Now is the price very linear? Price rise very linear? No, it's wavered. So it rises, it falls, it rises, it falls. But effectively, if you see the broad picture, it will keep on rising until it meets face value. Now coupon bonds, same thing happens. As the time to maturity keeps on decreasing, like the bond proceeds in its life, the discount will keep on shrinking. So it will try to go towards face value. But there is one more thing. So coupons are paid on coupon bonds. So there are two impacts. So first is time to maturity. So as the time to maturity shrinks, like as the time shrinks, the age of the bond increases, the price of the bond generally rises. We are talking about a discount bond. Okay. So as if a bond is issued in discount, if a coupon bond is issued at discount, so as the maturity proceeds, as the life of the bond proceeds, the price keeps on rising until it reaches face value. And there is also impact of time to coupon. So every 6 months you're going to receive coupon. So what will happen? The price will fluctuate based on that too. So as the time to coupon nears in, the price of bond keeps on increasing. The reason is, if I buy certain bond one day before the coupon date, I receive the coupon. So even though I am holding the bond only for one day, I receive the coupon for the whole 6 months. But if I buy the coupon, let's say 6 months before the coupon date, right? I will have to wait 6 months to receive that coupon. So as the coupon date nears, the price goes up. So coupon bonds, overall they flow in the upward direction, the discount coupon bonds, but they have fluctuations in between too. So as the coupon rate nears, the bond prices will go up. On the coupon date, it will fall. Again, they will rise, fall, rise, fall. So time to coupon, price rises as the coupon date nears. So what is the impact of time? If the bonds are issued at discount, the price rises, period. But if it is a coupon bond, then price would rise when the coupon date is near, then it will fall, then it will rise again. Okay. So they have given few examples. So let's look into it. Suppose you purchase a 30-year zero coupon bond with a yield of 5% for a face value of 100. The bond will initially trade at $23. If the bond yield to maturity remains at 5%, what will be the price 5 years later? So face value is 100. Price issued was 23. As the years proceed in the bond, this price should rise. So if you purchase the bond at $23 and sold it 5 years later, what would be your rate of investment? So if a bond was originally issued at originally a 30-year bond and 5 years have passed, then only 25 years have been left to maturity. If the yield to maturity does not change, that is the interest rates are not changing, then you can compute the price of the bond with 25 years left as we did for 30 years using 25 years discounting instead of 30. Once you have the price in 5 years, you can compute the rate of return on your investment. So future value is the price in 5 years, PV is 23, the number of years is 5. So the bond price, if you calculate, like 100 is now discounted at 5% for 25 years instead of 30. So the price, it comes to 29.53. So the price went up from 23 to 29. So price appreciated. This is what we are talking. As the time proceeds in a bond, the price will keep on going up. Now if you want to calculate return, it is 29.53 price after 5 years divided by 23.13 to the power 1 by 5. So that is effectively 5% return every year. Note that the bond price is higher, hence the discount from its face value is smaller when there is less time. So as the time proceeds, the discount shrinks. The discount shrinks because the yield has not changed, but there is less time until the face value will be received. If a bond yield to maturity does not change, then the rate of return of an investment in a bond equals to yield of maturity even if you sell the bond early. So irrespective of how long you hold the bond, you'll still get 5% return per year, but the price will keep on going up. Next, interest rate risk and bond prices. The effect of time on bond prices is predictable, but the unpredictable changes in interest rates also impact the price. Bonds with different characteristics will respond differently to the changes in interest rate. Investors view long-term bonds to be riskier than short-term bonds. You have to remember. So what we are going to discuss is, we are going to create a table which is important for you to understand. So which bonds will react more to interest rates? We have seen for any bond, if interest rates are rising, the prices will fall. If interest rates are falling, the prices will rise. But which bonds react more? So we'll say interest rate, okay, interest rate change, and types of bonds. So let's keep types of bond here and interest rate there, and types of bonds. So there are bond have different characteristics. First is long-term bonds. Then short-term bonds. And high coupon bonds and low coupon or zero coupon bonds. So which of these bonds will be more sensitive to interest rates? So long-term bonds or short-term bonds will be more sensitive to interest rate. So in long-term bonds, you have to wait longer to receive your returns. In short-term bonds, you receive your returns very fast. So if interest rates are changing, then the long term impact would be there, right, vis-a-vis a short term bond. So long term bonds are more sensitive, that is they react more to interest rates. Short term bonds are less sensitive. Now if you are getting high coupons, you are getting money paid earlier. If you are getting zero coupons or low coupons, then you are going to be paid later on. So high coupons are less sensitive to interest rates as compared to low coupons. Low coupon bonds are more sensitive. Okay, so long term bonds, longer is the term, more is the sensitivity. So a 30-year bond would be more sensitive to interest rate change, that is the price would change more if the interest rate changes as compared to a 1-year bond. Similarly, a 10% coupon bond will be less sensitive as compared to 1% coupon bond or a 0% coupon bond. Longer is the time, more is the sensitivity, higher is the coupon, less is the sensitivity. Sensitivity means how much does the price change when interest rates change, and how does it impact? So rise in interest rates leads to decrease in price, and fall in interest rates leads to increase in price. Okay. So they've given an example. So consider a 10-year coupon bond and a 30-year coupon bond. Both have 10% annual coupons. By what percentage change will each bond change? So a 10-year versus 30-year. So which has longer duration? 30-year. 30-year is the longest bond. So 30-year bond will change more as compared to 10-year bond. And interest rates are increasing from 5% to 6%. So when interest rates go up, price of bonds go down. So let's see. We need to compute the price of each bond for the yield to maturity and then calculate the percentage change in the field. So both bonds have cash value of cash flows of $10 per year and a face value of 100. So how much would they change? So let's do that. So current interest rate was 5%. The new interest rate which we are going to get is 6%. So what is the value of 10-year bond and what is the value of a 30-year bond which pays 10% coupon? So this is coupon rate, and in both cases it pays 10% coupon, and it's an yearly coupon. They have simplified us. So what is value of that bond? What is the price of that bond? Price is always calculated as present value of future outflows. Interest rate is 5%. Number of years is 10 years. Payments are $10 per year. Face value is $100 once the bond matures. Type doesn't matter, or type is always 0 for bonds. So this is, the price would be 138 if it is 5% interest. If it is a 30-year bond, the price would be rate of return 5%, number of years 30, payments $10, future value 100, type of bond is always 0. So 30-year bond, the issue price is 176. Now if the interest rate increases by 6%, both bonds will fall, because when interest rate go up, bond prices go down. But how much will they fall? So let's check it out. So present value, rate of return now is 6%, number of years is 10 for this bond, payments are $10 and future value is 100, the face value is 100. So type is 0. So this bond will fall from 138 to 129. How much does this bond fall? So again, present value, rate of return 6% now, number of years 30, payment $10, future value 100, type 0 equals. So this bond went from 176 to 155. So if you see, if you calculate the rate of decrease, it's 129 over 138 minus 1. So this bond went down by 6.5%. This bond went down by 155 divided by 176 minus 1. So 30-year bond reacted more to interest rate change than a 10-year bond, which is our thing. So long-term bonds are more sensitive than shorter-term bonds. So longer is the duration, more is the sensitivity of the bond. Okay, so that is what they have calculated. So 6% and around 12% is the change. So 30-year bond is almost twice as sensitive as 10-year bond to a change in interest rate. In fact, if we graph the price, it will show something like this. So a 30-year bond is more sensitive than a 10-year bond. Now they are looking at coupon rates. So coupon rates also we discussed. Higher the coupon, lesser is the sensitivity. So lesser is the change. So consider two bonds, each pays semi-annual coupon and 5 years are left up to maturity. One bond pays 5% coupon, the other pays 10% coupon, but both currently have a yield to maturity of 8%. How much will they change if interest rate goes from 8% to 7%? The important point, these are semi-annual bonds. So let's do it. So few things are given. The interest rate change is from 8% to 7%. So this was old interest rate. This is the new interest rate. The first bond and second bond. The first bond they have given. The first bond has 5 years left. This also has 5 years left. The coupon rate is, for the first bond is 5% and coupon rate for this bond is 10%. That is what they have given, and yield to maturity is 8. So what will be value of this bond right now? So value of this bond at 8% interest will be present value of future outflows. It is 8%, but the bonds are semi-annual, so divide by 2. NPAR is 5 years left into 2. Payment is coupon rate multiplied by face value divide by 2. Future value is the face value. Type of bond is always 0. Click on OK. So price is 87. If you calculate price of this bond, present value, rate of interest 8% divide by 2, always yield to maturity, but it is semi-annual, so divide by 2. Then 5 years into 2. Did we do multiplied by 2 here? Okay. Yeah, 5 into 2 we did, so that was right. Sorry for that. So this is present value. Rate of return 8% divide by 2, NPAR 5 into 2. Payments is coupon rate 10% multiplied by face value divide by 2, since it's semi-annual. $100 face value. Type of the bond 0, so 108. So what will happen when the interest rate changes to 7% instead of 8? So I'll just copy this and we'll just change the interest rates. Okay, so it is 7% divided by 2, 5 into 2, 5% into 100 divided by 2, 100, and this is 7% divided by 2. So both bonds are changing in value. Interest rates are going down, so bond will go up. So this one is appreciating, this one is appreciating too. Let's see which bond appreciates more. So this one is going to 91 from 87. So it is appreciating 4.5%. This bond is going to 112 from 108. So this is reacting around 3.7%. So lower coupon bond reacts more to interest rate change. Lower coupon bond reacts more to interest rate change. That is what we discussed. Lower coupon is more sensitive. Higher the coupon, less is the sensitivity. So that is what they have calculated. So you can look at these calculations by pausing them. So what was the bottom line? The bonds with smaller coupon is more sensitive to interest rates. Oh, sorry for that. The bonds with smaller coupons is more sensitive to changes in interest rate because its coupons are smaller relative to its par value. A large fraction of its cash flow is received later. So because it is smaller, you're going to get more cash flows in future. That is why the change in present value, which is future cash flows discounted, becomes more. As we learned in example, later the cash flows are affected more greatly. So bottom line is bonds with smaller coupon payments will be more sensitive. Bond prices in practice. Bond prices are subject to effect of both passage of time and changes in interest rates. So both of them act together. Bond prices converge to face value due to time effect. However, bond prices move up and down due to unpredictable changes in interest rates. So it's not smooth. So bond price change is not smooth. It is very erratic. Okay. So till now we have discussed all about government bonds. So we did not factor in the risk of default. But you may not always invest in Government of Canada federal bonds. You may invest in provincial bonds or you may invest in private company bonds. So whenever you are investing in provincial or private company, then these are not risk free. They have a risk of default associated with them. So a company like Suncor, they have a higher chance of default on their bond payments as compared to Government of Canada. So whenever you are investing in corporate bonds, you have to factor corporate or credit risk with it. So government bonds are widely regarded as risk-free. Credit risk, this is the risk of default by the issuer of any bond which is not risk-free. It is an indication that bonds cash flow are not known with certainty. Corporations with higher default risk will have to pay higher coupon to attract buyers. So yield to maturity, the yield on the bonds, higher is the credit risk, higher is the yield. So for example, if you are given different options, so it is federal government bonds, Fed bonds, then Alberta bonds, then Suncor bonds, and then probably a small restaurant bonds. So if you look at yields, so yields will be something like 1% here, 2% here. So returns from Fed bonds will be 1%, Alberta 2%, Suncor may pay you 4%, a small restaurant may agree to pay you 11%. So why is this difference between yields? Why is this difference between returns from these bonds or interest rate? The reason is risk is going up. So Feds are very safe, so that's why they pay less. Alberta government more risky than federal government, pays more. Suncor more risky than Alberta, pays more. Small restaurant very risky, so it pays more. So yield to maturity of a defaultable bond is not equal to the expected return invested in the bond. A higher yield to maturity does not necessarily imply bond's expected return is high. So what does it mean is, even though you are expecting 5% return or 4% return from Suncor, maybe Suncor may default and you may not get that 4% return. So yield is different than actual returns when you are investing in these bonds. Federal government is risk free, so actual yield and actual returns are same, But apart from federal government, anything else, the actual return may be different than yield. Bond ratings. So how do you know which company has which kinds of default risk? So it is given by bond ratings. Several companies rate the credit worthiness of bond. The three most followed are Dominion Bond Rating Service, which is a Canadian firm. Standard & Poor, it's a Canadian subsidiary, but the parent firm is American, and Moody's is also American. So one Canadian, two American firms, these rate investors. Bond ratings are generally given as investment grade, which are highly secured. So there is very low chance of default. Then there is speculative grade, which has high chance of default. Okay, rating depends on risk of bankruptcy and how much claim bondholders have in terms of asset. So higher is the credit rating, lower would be the yield on the bond. Lower is the credit rating, higher will be the yield. Same way, higher is the credit rating, low chance of default. Lower is the credit rating, high chance of default. Corporate and provincial yield curve. Just as we construct yield curve from risk-free bond, we can plot yield curves of provincial and corporate bonds, but yield curves will be higher. That difference is called as credit spread. So what is credit spread? Fed is giving you 1% return. Alberta is paying you 2% return. So what is credit spread? Credit spread is always returns on non-risk-free bond minus return on risk-free bond. So Alberta has a 1% spread. Suncor has 4% minus risk-free rate 1%, 3% spread. And a small restaurant has 10% spread. So credit spread means difference between returns you are getting because of risk minus risk-free rate. Okay. Your firm can have ratings like AA. You notice that credit spread between 5-year maturity is 0.9%. 100 basis point is 1%. So 90 basis means 0.9%. You see that a new 5-year Government of Canada bond is being issued at 4.5%. So how much interest rate should you get? So your spread is 0.9%. So if Government of Canada, which is risk free, is 4.5, so you would have to, your yield would be 4.5 plus 0.5. So yield on any bond equals risk free rate plus credit spread. So yield on your bond will be, risk free rate is 4.5% on government bond plus the credit spread was 0.9. So if you calculate that, it is 5.4. So your bond should give you 5.4 instead of 4.5. If this credit spread is 90 basis point, then the yield to maturity on the debt should be YTM on the similar bond plus 0.9. So if you calculate, it is 4.5% plus 0.9, that is 5.4%. The cash flows on your bond are $5 per year for every $100 face value. So this is the implied effective rate is 5.4% APR. Armed with this information, compute the price of the bond. So they have given few examples, but we have done plenty, right? So $2.5 would be the coupon rate. Yield will be 2.7%. It's a 6-month bond. So into 2 every 6 months, what is the period of the bond? The period of the bond was a 5-year bond. So multiplied by 5, this should be the price of the bond. The bond with higher coupon than the Government of Canada bond will sell for 98 versus 100. The reason is the credit spread. So what they are saying is, higher is the credit spread, more would be the discount of the bond. Higher is the credit spread, lower is the price of the bond. Your firm's higher probability of default leads investor to demand higher yield on debt. Okay. To provide a higher YTM, the purchase price of the debt must be lower. So that's why higher is the risk, lower would be the price of the bond. If your debt paid 5.4% coupon, it would sell at 100%, the same as Government of Canada bonds. But to get that price, you will have to pay higher coupons too. So that's it. So bottom line is, if your credit spread is higher, either you have to adjust by paying more coupon, or you have to adjust by getting less price for the bond, by selling your price at a discount. So higher is the credit risk, either the coupon rates are higher or the price, the discount of the bond is more. And that's it. Yield curve is not there, it was covered in chapter 6, so we are not going to cover it, chapter 5, so we are not going to cover it here.